let me just learn one thing at a time. Because it's so easy to just get fixated on the big picture and to not make the baby steps that you need to get to that big picture. Because people just think it's one big step that you're going to learn overnight. A lot of times when you get caught in that mental state, when you get caught in that intellectual image, that's just, oh my God, like the mountain is like fucking Everest and
Literally.
like the pathway there is unseen. If you just start walking up that mountain, right, eventually you'll find your way up. It may not be the easiest, right? You may need people around you and you're going to need resources, you're going to need people, but how are you going to find those resources? How are you going to find those people if you never actually go out and venture and you forget about that intellectual image
100%.
and just focus on the here and now and focus on what's in front of you rather than something that's in a dream world. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to episode number 75 of the Conscious Cast. I'm your host, Cal, along with my other boy, Mr. Dr. Jason Slash Scalora. Whoa! Yes, it has been over a month since me and this gentleman have been back in the podcast room, which honestly, dude, it feels like a lot longer.
But when you had said like, "Oh, let's go film," and like, it's been a while, I was like, "Oh my God, it's been so long."
Dude, since before Thanksgiving, because last episode, that last episode I did was with Mikey. Go check it out. Banging episode.
Fire.
Right before Thanksgiving. And yeah, dude, holy crap. It has been, definitely over a month, but we are glad to be back. You know, we're here. Feels really refreshing to be here. How you been, my man?
I'm great.
Even though I've literally seen you like every single day.
I know, but I've been way better. I don't know why. I just feel great. I just feel fucking great. I think part of it is I'm waking up a lot earlier because I'm home now from school. And so, like, the distractions are gone, so it's a lot easier for me to get back in my sleep schedule of, like, waking up at, like, 5:45, 6, hitting the gym, and then, like, getting that.
Like, it felt great today to wake up that early.
Yeah, dude.
And, I mean, it was, like, 1 o'clock, and I was like, holy crap, I've been up for 7 hours. You know what I mean?
It's crazy, and it's, like, this is partially egotistical, but when you have, you know, half your fucking day done before 90% of kids our age are even waking up in the morning, you just... You separate yourself, and you separate yourself, and you separate yourself. And over time, people are like, dude, like, how are you killing it? Or how do you have the time? Or
It's called time management.
I know. Well, it's like, or like a good example was when I was working at the country club, or when I was working at the restaurant. I would go into the restaurant, I would work, you know, I don't do this anymore after the RA stuff, but when I was working, 4 or 5 days a week, and I would work, 6-7 hour shifts, and for most people, and I'm not saying I'm better than anybody, but for most people, that takes up most of your day. And so if you have a 6-7 hour shift during the day, and you have schoolwork, and you have, you're trying to maintain a social life, and then on my end of it, I'm trying to create content. I have to edit. Like, that takes a lot of time. And on top of that, I want to go to the gym and do, like, all these things. Like, where do you find the time, bro? And I'm like, stop fucking around. Like, stop fucking around. Like, I maximize every second that I have. And, like, oh, God, it sounds like I'm blowing smoke in my ass. But, like, if you look at the people that are successful, they maximize every second that they have. And I'm just following them. Like, it's not like, oh, look at me. Like, I'm just doing what they did. Like, wake up at 5:45, hit the gym, and then do your shit before you have work. Yeah. And then you're good to go.
Yeah.
It's a long...
Yeah, no. I couldn't agree more with you, man. It's just like, because a lot of people, like, from the outside looking in, they'll be like, wow, holy crap, like, this guy does... Yeah. I mean, like, he's making content every day. He's working out every day. He's working. He's a full-time student. He's doing all these different types of things. Like, that's just one example. I mean, if you just keep going on that hypothetical ladder, it's just like the more you go, like, the busier people get, right? Yeah. But, like, it seems like the easier they're able to balance it, right? And, like, I think it really just comes back to how you manage your time, right? And it's 100%. Like backed by the habits and behaviors you have, right? So, for instance, like, if someone wants to start, like, having a lifestyle, like, you wake up early, you go to the gym, you have, like, let's just say a very well managed life, right? And, like, you're managing your time very well, right? For someone that, let's just say, replicates someone's routine every single day, right? That has a completely different, like, internal conditioning and habits and how they're, like, wired, right? They're gonna be like, holy fucking shit, right? Like, oh my God, how does this guy do it? But, like, and then the guy who's, like, in that routine is just so normalized to them, right? And it feels like nothing, right? But what I find is, like, I don't know if you said this, or someone else. But it's like the people that always feel inadequate, right? But have like their life together are the people that are always going to be successful, right? Because like from the outside looking in, right? That person looks super successful, right? But from the inside looking out, they feel like inadequate.
Right.
Like, of course, like they feel, they know they're meeting their standards, right? They know they're at a good point, but the standards that they have set are so high, right? That oftentimes when they don't meet it, they feel inadequate, 100%. Right? And they always feel this kind of need to, on a daily basis, meet standards and keep progressing and
100%.
Honestly just keep doing more on a daily basis.
Yeah. Doing more,
meeting milestones.
I had this conversation with Rachel a couple probably a couple months ago, rather. And I was talking to her, and she was like, I just don't feel good anymore. Like, I'm not feeling this, like, spark anymore. And she had started her personal development journey probably at the beginning of the year, maybe around January, February, around that time, where she had started working out consistently pretty much every day. She had started taking care of her, mental health, her physical health, her spirituality, her finances, started making big strides in her career and big strides in her just all her personal development stuff, right? And she was like, I just don't feel good anymore. Like, why don't I feel good anymore? And I'm like, it's because you hit like that point. Like, and that's the point that like everybody has to be very, very cautious of, because it can feel depressing. It can feel real fucking depressing. Because even now, I look back at my freshman year of college, and that was the best time of my life. Best time of my life. But that's because of the learning curve. Because in the beginning, in the short amount of time, you would go from like 0 to 70% of your capacity because you weren't doing anything before. But to go from 70 to 75 is going to take you just as much time as it took for you to go from 0 to 70. And so from 0 to 70, you have this big jump. And so and so to simplify it, it's like you're at 0 happiness and now you're at 70 happiness. And you that difference is what feels amazing, because you went from 0 to 75. You're like, wow, I don't feel good anymore. It's been a couple weeks. I don't feel good anymore. It's like, well, because you're still going to the gym consistently. You're still doing all your stuff consistently, but there's not much more progression. And that's what you have to be careful of, because when you don't feel that progression, oftentimes we tend to self-sabotage because we don't feel good anymore, because it's not the newbie gains anymore for anything. And so that's what I found myself was I started self-sabotaging so that I could rebuild back up, because if I can bring myself from 0 to 70 and then crash back down to 30 and then go back up to 70, then I can feel that dopamine again. But it's obviously in the long run a very harmful way to go about feeling that progress. And so I'm just saying that as a public service announcement, of like, don't just be mindful of it, because it's very easy to want to self-sabotage yourself subconsciously or consciously when you don't feel that great improvement in that short period of time, because it becomes so addicting, because you remember how good it felt for a month or 2 months of like self-improvement. I'm kicking ass, like I'm doing so good. And like even me right now, I look back to then, I'm doing way more now than I was then, but I felt way better then just because it was from 0 to 70. 2-0 Manchester United, come on.
All right.
I love watching it back and then just having it cut, and I just see your glossy eyes.
Yeah. All right. Well, you guys aren't going to see what just happened, but my God, Jason just made me laugh. Probably the hardest you've ever made me laugh. My God,
good.
that was
that was good.
Whoo, that was top tier. But immediately, what that makes me think of is like when I'm like writing a paper, right? And like a lot of times, like I'm an extremely slow writer. Like when it comes to like really like high demanding assignments, right? When it comes to like really high demanding assignments, meaning like each sentence matters, right? And it has to stay in alignment with my thesis, right? And sometimes I get like and this is kind of like my mindset going in like this year, but prior to me developing this mindset that I'll touch on in a second, I used to get like so frustrated with myself because I wouldn't be making any progress towards writing more, right? And that damn word, dude. Towards writing more, right? And so writing more.
Writing more.
Yeah, towards writing more, right? And so as as time went on, right, I would just like get so frustrated with myself. But then I came to the realization that I just need to give myself patience, right? I gotta understand that it's gonna take time for me to grab all these pieces of evidence and draw distinctions and conclusions from them, right? And to make and no matter how, even if I don't write anything, I'm still making progress because I'm still reading through all the material,
100%.
making more connections, right? So, and like drawing that back to what you said, right? It's like, let's just say I read a paper, right? I write my introduction, I have my whole entire outline, but now it's time to break it down into the more specific details, right? And make it more concrete, right? So when you try to make it more concrete, obviously it's going to be harder, right? You're not just talking in broad, vague, general terms, right? So as you start to break it down, right, and this requires all these specific pieces of evidence from different texts, right, and different resources, it's, like I said before, it's going to be a lot harder. And so just like when you have those newbie gains, right? Whether it be in self-improvement, whether it be in the gym, right? You have that kind of initial start, right? Just like you're writing the introduction, right? Those newbie gains, you shoot up real fast, right? But then the progression's slow, right? And it's going to take time. It's going to require you to put yourself on a different training program, right? To see better, different results,
100%.
right? So it's just like with Michael Phelps, right? When he first started swimming, right? Yeah, he just off to the races, right? His genetic potential went through the roof, right? But as we heard this morning, for him to even notice 0.0001 second of a difference on his 100-meter freestyle swim, right? It requires 4 months of training every day, right? That includes nutrition, that includes sleep, that includes everything, right? Just for that 0.0001% difference. So if you could see that for a goat, right, at the top level, to see literally a minuscule difference in his results, look at the amount of work it takes for him to even maintain that level and for him to even get even better.
100%. And I think, I mean, immediately, and this has a lot to do with the fact that I'm studying meditation so heavily right now, I think a big part of it now is learning to be present. And it sounds so corny, but once you've reached that plateau of self-improvement, then you don't have as much to look forward to, right? Because in the beginning, you have everything to look forward to. Because the gym is new, keeping your room clean is new, meditating is new, journaling is new, starting content is new, and it's exciting because it's new. It's like the honeymoon phase of something. But then the honeymoon phase dies after a little bit, right? And then what? Now there's nothing to look forward to. It's not new and exciting anymore. So what's going to create that dopaminergic, exciting feeling? Presence. Right, and it was funny. Like as I was reading through some of the meditation, because I'm taking the certification, whatever, and I was reading through a chapter, and I found it was a little boring. It was talking about like the history of like Buddhism and stuff like that, and then it started talking about like, I forget what it was, but it basically was saying like, you know, so oftentimes we find ourselves in boring tasks, and when we're in those boring tasks, we create time in our heads so that we can look forward to getting out of it because it's just boring. It means nothing to you. But if you could just stop focusing on the time and stop focusing on all these other things and focusing on the fact that you want to get out of it and just read, like just read. Like just read the words. Read the words, nothing else. Don't focus on when you're going to be done. Don't keep scrolling to the bottom to see how much left you have. Don't focus to see how much time you spent reading or any of that shit. Get rid of time in your mind and only be present. And then all of a sudden, when you're reading, there's no time anymore. You're just being. And that's when I felt alive. Even though I didn't give a fuck about the material that I was reading, I felt great. I didn't care what I was doing. And it was just because I was present. I was actually reading what I was reading. I don't even remember what I was reading because I don't care about it, but at least I was enjoying the process. But it's the same thing with anything that you're done with the honeymoon phase in. If you're not paying attention to what's right in front of you and you're focused on when it's going to be done or how it used to be or anything besides what is actually happening in the present moment, that's when that, lethargic, lazy sort of feeling is going to set in.
You know what's so interesting? When I set a timer on my phone to meditate for 10 minutes, I notice I'm paying way more attention for that clock to end rather than me just sitting down and my meditation ends when it ends, right? And I think that's literally I think it's literally like the perfect analogy for that because it's like when you're like, let's just say when your mind's occupying your attention, right, rather than in the activity you're doing, right, that is distracting you from fully engulfing yourself in the task, right? So for instance, like when I'm video editing, right, I'm like, okay, let me get to this point, right, in my mind, right, before I take a break, right? So it's like exactly like you said, I'm creating an idea in my head, right, that gives me meaning, that gives this moment meaning to look forward to towards as a means to get out of the present moment, right? So let me just do all this shit real quick, right? It's not going to be as high quality, right? And I'm not enjoying the process, right? And as time goes on, right, I just get closer and closer and closer to that image that I set in my head, right? And it's just, to me, like, I think that's just such a big thing that, especially within the Western side of the world, that we're just so naturally conditioned with, right? And it's just, we're just so used to treating the present moment as a means to an end, right? And we're like, our minds are just always at the forefront, right? And you have to take your attention off your mind, right?
But what people don't understand is, like, there's a difference between using the present moment as a means to an end and treating it like a means to an end. Because if you're exercising, some people actually enjoy the process of exercising, sure. But usually you're using that time of exercising as a means to an end. You're trading that present moment for some sort of payoff in the future, to be healthier, to be better, whatever, etc. Right? But just because you're using it as a means to an end doesn't mean you should be focusing on what you're doing next, or how yesterday went, or how that argument happened, or anything else besides lifting the weight, or doing the rep, or whatever it is that you're actually doing. There's a difference there, because when you treat it like a means to an end, then you're not present, right? And I actually learned this today, which was profound, and I sort of inherently knew, but never really actually thought of as true just because of my conditioning. And this is, I think, an incredible message for a lot of kids, especially our age, to understand, especially when they learn, like, if you're not focused, if you can't focus on anything and you find yourself, this is not a problem for you because you just live this way. But for those of you who can't find yourself focusing,
even at times, like it's definitely difficult for me to 100%.
True. But for those of you who can't find yourself focusing, or you're that person that says, I just can't meditate, I can't sit down with nothing, I need something, like I need to always be doing something, like, listen to this. Your idea of meditation doesn't have to be what you think it is. Meditation doesn't have to be I sit there and close my eyes and have, her herbal essence in the air with ohms. That's not what that means. That's meditation as well, but
it's a stereotype.
You can literally sit there and, for example, as you're eating your cereal in the morning, just eat your cereal. There's no phone, there's no conversation, there's nothing else. And when you're eating the cereal, you're disciplining your mind as a workout to focus on every bite of the cereal. Like, it sounds stupid, but like if you're eating and you just focus on spoon down, dip it in, and then you eat it, and then you chew, like just everything that you're actually doing in the present moment, as stupid as it sounds, that will greatly increase your focus. And that is a complete meditative experience. Just the same as sitting there with your eyes closed, focusing on your breath. It's the same thing. It's easier and it's more beneficial because it's more easy because there's less stimulus when you're sitting there and just focusing on your breath. So it maximizes your time better. But you can meditate while you're eating. You can meditate while you're doing anything.
I would argue it's even better in a lot of times too, because how, for instance, like a busy person, right? Like that doesn't have time to sit down and meditate for 25 minutes, right? It's a lot easier to be like, okay, let me. I don't know, you're an accountant, right? Like you're typing on your keyboard. Let me mindfully type on my keyboard. Or like you're going to pick up your kids, focusing on the driving wheel, or you're focusing on your kids getting it. Like just any activity. That's why I always say, like, meditation can be done anywhere, right? And it's like, and honestly, like if you can naturally discipline yourself to a point where you're always present, right? Like, of course, you have to use the future and the past, like there is times and places for those things. 100%. But like if you can discipline yourself to be mindful, right? And be present here and now, right? You'll find that like you won't be, you'll be reminding consciously, you'll be reminding yourself, okay, let me draw myself back to the present moment. Like observe my thoughts, right? And just place my attention on something now, right? Like my breath, my hands, the keyboard in front of me, like whatever, you know? And then over time, you'll actually, at least I've found in my own experience and from what I've studied, that you'll actually, and what this is really cool too, you'll actually fall into that like flow type of state
right
naturally, right? And it's just like, whoa.
Yeah.
You know, but it's like, if like when you're in that type of immersive state where you're just so focused, right? And you're just so relaxed but concentrated, right? You're just in that flow mode, right?
Yeah.
That's the ultimate state.
100%. 100%. And you're the perfect example. I've never seen anybody so good at it more than you.
I appreciate it.
Because like every time I see you, like, and it's people look at you like funny a lot of the time because like they don't like judge you, or maybe they do, but like usually when like you're doing something, you seem so old fashioned. Because like you're never like, you know, walking the dog and on your phone, and you're never like driving and trying to do this and that, or like whatever. Like
sometimes,
but like, dude, like compared to the average person, I don't know anybody, not my mom, not my dad, nobody, no old people that are more like conscious of what they're doing and present with what they're doing than you are, and like people really need to take note of that. And I just think that is a skill that you really, especially for those of you guys that are like, I'm like ADHD, I can't focus, I can't, you know, I can't do anything without having stimulus or whatever, or I can't sit down and meditate, I just can't meditate, I just can't. I've heard that sentence a million times, especially when I've been telling people, oh, I'm going to be teaching meditation. They're like, I can't do it. I'm like, stop freaking out.
You think you can.
I'm like, you think you can't? I'm like, next time you get in the car and drive for a 5-minute drive, don't turn on music, don't put on any stimulus, don't get on the phone, and when you drive, every time you catch your thoughts drifting off, bring it back to the wheel. Bring it back to the wheel. Bring it back to the wheel. And those repetitions are what's going to allow you to be more focused, more present, and happier. It sounds so cliche, but when you are living in the moment and experiencing things as they are, that's when you're going to find the joy.
Yeah, and I think like just kind of drop back to what we were touching on before. It's like a lot of times when, for instance, like I recently switched to Adobe Premiere, right? And I've been like, last week I was like stressing myself out like mentally. I'm just like, all right, man, I got to learn this new software. I got to learn it as soon as possible, right? And I was like finding every single video, right? And I was like, I'm not finding the right video. And I was like, God damn it. But I just realized like, okay, let me just learn one thing at a time, right? And it's just like, because it's so easy to just get fixated on the big picture, right? And to not make the baby steps that you need to get to that big picture, right? Because people just think it's one big step, right? That you're going to learn overnight, right? Like that's just not how it is, right? So, and like a lot of times when you get caught in that mental state, when you get caught in that intellectual image, right? That's just, oh my God, like the mountain is like fucking Everest, right? And like the pathway there is unseen, right? But like if you just start walking up that mountain, right, eventually you'll find your way up, right? And it may not be the easiest, right? You may need people around you, right? And you're gonna need resources, you're gonna need people, but how are you gonna find those resources? How are you gonna find those people if you never actually go out and venture and you forget about that intellectual image 100%. And just focus on the here and now, right? And focus on what's in front of you rather than something that's literally in a dream world.
Right, yeah. It's funny you say that because it was actually happened today. I literally was screaming, like not exaggerating, screaming rage at my computer because I'm doing the meditation certification. And with every quiz that I've taken, they have like the same structure to it. And I have like a flow, like I have a rhythm going of like how I'm taking these quizzes with the book, and I have the book online so I can Control F and look for like the general couple paragraphs where I have to like reread and like figure out where the answers are. And most of the answers are either like, you know, they have a couple fill in the blanks where they'll have like, you know, a half a paragraph to fill in certain words. Some of them are like word for word from the paragraph, or, you know, most of them are like, you can parse it out. Like you read the paragraph, like, oh, this is the right word, like, you know, whatever it is. And it was ironic is it was a question on equanimity. And I'll read you the definition of equanimity because it was so ironic because I couldn't find it in the book and I was screaming because you know me, like you need an 85 to pass the quiz, but I'm so stubborn and stupid. I could have just left the question and moved on. I was just so annoyed. I was getting so like screaming, so mad that I couldn't find the answer because I had found every other answer to every other quiz in the book where I was literally screaming at the fucking computer. Where the fuck is it? Where is it? Where? Now I can't find this.
It's coming back.
Equanimity is a mindset and refers to a person's ability to remain calm and composed while being able to maintain a sense of mental clarity and evenness that doesn't interfere with the natural flow of happenings. That was the subject, and I couldn't find the answer to it.
Dude,
And
that's nuts.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
That's a message
it
right
was,
there.
It literally was. And I was like, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, and I'm like, and I'm like, I literally ended up skipping the question, and that was the next one that came up. Like, I literally read to you, like, this was literally the next question that came up. I took a picture of it because it was so ironic. Like, it was like one of the questions I filled in, and I'm like, it was just crazy to me because it's so true. I got so lost and so absorbed in this, I need to find the answer to this question right now so that I can do this, so that I can do this, so I can do this, rather than being present and accepting of things of how they were. The reality is I was never going to find that answer. Maybe it was a fluke. Maybe they accidentally put the question in. It was from a totally different book. Who knows? That's what it seems like. Yeah. I spent 30 minutes on one question because I was getting so mad that I couldn't find the answer and rile myself up into this terrible state of mind rather than being equanimous in the moment and present and just accepting it for what it was.
Yep.
Which was, I'm not going to get the answer. I don't know the answer. Yeah. I read the material, I reread it, I went through with a fine-tooth comb, and I couldn't find it. Accept it. Move on. And it was so ironic because that was the next question. Defining equanimity.
Damn, dude. That's nuts. It just reminds me of, like, when a football team, like, let's just say the Patriots, right? A couple weeks ago. I don't know if you saw it. Like, it was literally all they had to do was just knee the ball to go into overtime, right?
Okay.
But the running back, so like the defense is in Hail Mary formation, right? The Patriots are on like the 50, right, or 40. Okay. And so pretty much like there's a bunch of open space in the field, right, until like the end zone pretty much. Like all the defenders are back. And so the running back, Stevenson, literally gets the quarterback hands off the ball to the running back and like he runs like 30 yards, right? And like into open field, right? And so like most likely what was going through my head was just like, oh, he's probably just gonna, run down, get tackled, and go to overtime. So he ends up lateraling it, right, to another player, right? And so that player runs backwards, right, and then laterals it to another guy. So meanwhile, the score's tied, right? So they could just take a knee and go to overtime, which is what they should do. But then, so it's this wide receiver, Jacoby Myers, right? He gets the pass, right, or he gets the lateral, and not only does he run backwards, right, he looks at the quarterback, Mac Jones, who is like an old fart, right? He's young, but he has no agility really, and he's like not known for running or speed, right? He throws it back like another 20 yards and like to the quarterback, but a Raiders defender catches it, right?
No way.
Yep. And the Raiders defender, Chandler, takes it right to the end zone, and the game
Oh
ends.
My God.
I mean, probably the dumbest play. The most idiotic thing you could do, right?
Oh, wait, I saw that in ESPN Sports Not 10. I was in the saw it. That's so funny.
Yeah, okay,
I was like, you're describing, I'm like, I saw this. Yes, that's so funny.
So they lost the game.
Yeah.
And I was fine about it. But, like, I know people out there that saw that play.
Yeah.
And were just like, oh, my fucking God. Like, you just did that shit? Like, and it's like the same thing, like, many times with an editing software, right? I have, edited an entire project, never click Control S, right? Yeah. And then the program crashes. And I go and reopen it. Gone. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me, right? And you, in that moment in time, whether it be the Patriots player that throws it to the Raiders player that just takes it into the end zone, or you lose your entire project, right?
Right.
In those moments, we deny what is, right? And when we deny what is, right, like what is reality, right, and the outcome of that situation, it gets us incredibly frustrated, right? And it causes so much resistance because we are not able to control or manipulate that, right? It's out of our control, right? And so we're just continually building up this frustration, building up all these negative emotions, right? And it's just like hitting your head against a brick wall, right? Like, or just trying to walk through a brick wall. You're never gonna walk through the brick wall, dude. Like, I hate to break it to you, right? And just like you said, like, you have to accept what is. Sure, it might not be in your favor and just do what you can to start making steps towards that point that you were at, right?
100%. It's due to your expectations of how reality's supposed to be.
100%.
You were supposed to have it saved. You were supposed to have, your essay saved because that's how it was supposed to be. And the computer wasn't supposed to crash and you weren't supposed to have to retype all of it because that's the expectation that you put on reality. Does it suck? Maybe. If that's the definition you want to give to the situation, sure. But my biggest green flag for human beings that I want to spend time with are people that can drop their expectations the quickest and remain in a state like equanimity. Can remain in a state of calmness and of poise when things don't go their way, when their expectations are let down. And the quicker they can go from pissed off back to center, those are the people I want to spend my time around.
100%, man.
Those are the people.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more, man. And like just finding those people in your life that like one are aware of their expectations. Like for instance, I don't know, like you sent me a text message the other day, and like it was I was expecting us to hang out or whatever, right? And then you sent me that text message. I'm like, or no, I think I was like, oh, dude, you better come to Big Sky, and you were just like, nah, I'm going up. Or you texted me, you were like, oh no, I'm going to the Edge. I'm like, nah, this. And in that moment, I was like, oh, this motherfucker, dude. Like, and then I caught myself, like, my mind, right? Like, I didn't. Bullshit. I was like, it's cool. You know what I mean? Like, it's fine. We'll see each other another time. Yeah. Like, it's not the end of the world, right? You miss me. Of course I missed you, dude. But I missed you, baby. I miss you, Goo. But yeah, like just being able to be flexible like that, right? And be aware of your expectations. That's a big thing, right? Yeah. And then let's just say you forget about like being aware of your expectations, right? When that expectation doesn't come through or doesn't fall through, right? Being able to respond to that in a calm way that doesn't uphold that expectation and deny what is, I find a lot of times you'll have an even better response that will allow you to stay in a much more preferable state.
And Tony Robbins puts it best. Trade your expectations for appreciation and the whole game changes.
Gratitude. Yes, sir. Hit that button. Wow. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that has been episode number 75 of the Conscious Cast. I'm your host, Cal, along with my other boy,
Jason Scalora.
Dude, so we gotta do it over again, dude.
You can cut that. No, all right, fine, sorry.
This like random cut in music. God.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I fucked it up. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay, dude. My expectation was I didn't, even though I didn't expect you to say, it's okay, man.
Okay.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that has been episode number 75 of the Conscious Cast. I'm your host, Cal, along with my other boy,
Jason Scalora.
All right, guys, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe on this YouTube video on Conscious Cast episode number 75. Like I said before, I'm your host, Conscious Cal, along with my other boy, Mr. Jason Scalora. Make sure you love yourself because I love you.
Stay handsome.
And we're clocking out, people.
Peace.
Peace.